where a growing HIV/AIDS emergency poses a vicious threat to one of the world's largest countries and most powerful economies. If it is not dealt with quickly, this devastating crisis could spiral out of control. Social taboos, secrecy, gender inequality, and a general lack of awareness are allowing the virus to hide in the shadows and spread virtually unchecked. As the Global Ambassador for Youth AIDS, it is my mission to see how HIV is moving into the general population, to confront the unique risks faced by India's girls and women, and then to use my Hollywood connections to enlist Bollywood's biggest stars to help turn the tide in the war against HIV/AIDS. A war where awareness and a willingness to act truly make the difference between life and death for millions. My mandate as the Global Ambassador for Youth AIDS, as well as a board member for Population Services International, is to help raise awareness and consciousness about A, the problem, and B, the solution. Youth AIDS, an education and prevention initiative of PSI, uses media and pop culture to reach 600 million in 60 countries with life-saving products, services, and care. This is my 10th trip. My strong suit is being with people who are at risk, hearing their stories, and then conveying those stories in a way that is vivid, personal, dynamic, and rich to those who are in a position to create change in attitudes and policies. I am always so blown away by people's willingness to share their intimate stories with me. Mumbai is India's biggest city, which is saying something. People from all over the subcontinent come here, pursuing their dreams of a better life. Vibrant, cosmopolitan, energetic, and professional, it's known to be the financial capital of India. But Mumbai has a dark side. At least 3 million people here live in poverty. Today, Mumbai has the dubious distinction of being the capital of a state with one of the highest rates of human immunodeficiency virus infection in all of India. This is where I met Kausar, a single mother who makes barely enough money to survive. She is one of the growing numbers of women whose lives have been turned upside down by this virus. In fact, women account for more than a third of HIV infections here. I had learned a little about Kausar from Diane Cross, who works with PSI in Mumbai. But there was absolutely nothing that could prepare me for her living conditions in one of Mumbai's many slums. You know, the experience of India, that was my first time to be in those extraordinarily cramped, narrow, rabbit-warren, labyrinthine housing slum projects. And I was pretty startled by it. I hadn't expected that there would be an absence of light, you know, because they're built just ramshackle all on top of each other. An exceedingly difficult past has made Kausar a gritty survivor today. After she was abandoned by her first husband, she married for a second time and had a beautiful daughter. This time, she chose to walk out of a physically and emotionally abusive relationship.
दुकान था बांद्रा में, वो चौपाटी पे मकान था, वो पूरा बेच के बियर बार में पूरा पैसा उड़ा के शराब पी के मेरे को मारा, बहुत तंग किया.
In the midst of her troubled marriage, Kausar fell ill frequently. Finally, she worked up her courage, went to the doctor, and was tested for HIV.
मेरी सेक्रेटरी ने मुझे बोला कि कौसर तुम बार-बार बीमार गिर रही हो, तुम जाओ और अपना खून टेस्ट कराओ. तो उसके बाद में उन्होंने खून टेस्ट किया तो बोला कि अभी ये रिपोर्ट में तो आप पॉजिटिव है और उसके बाद में बोला कि 5 साल में तुम मर जाओगी
And then you will die anyway after 5 years.
Gee,
फिर
thanks.
मैं क्या किया पेपर मैंने फाड़ दिया और उसको पकड़ के मारा
And she slapped the doctor.
Good for you. It's not very Gandhi G to say good that you slapped him, but I celebrate your defiance. So which husband infected you with HIV? Both?
The second fellow.
The second. Must have been scary.
Kausar was too ill to work, which forced her young daughter Nasreen to somehow provide for her family.
Well, when you love your mommy, you'll do anything.
उसी ने संभाला दिया मुझे
That was a lot of responsibility for a child. So where would you go when you needed to find food for your mom?
टीचर से पैसे लेकर गई
Nasreen always made sure there was at least some food in the house, even if that was only a packet of biscuits. At times, she begged for money to buy medicine for her sick mother.
मेरे लिए उसी ने बहुत कुछ किया 3 एक्शन 500 गोली मेरी बच्ची जुम्मा मस्जिद में दादर में भीख मांगने को जाती थी और वहाँ से बोला कि मेरा पूरा कर
Kausar survived, and her own experience compelled her to reach out to others. She started visiting HIV/AIDS patients in a Mumbai hospital. The local PSI office learned about her work and took Kausar on as an interpersonal communicator. Her job now is to help those newly infected get the care and emotional support they desperately need.
मोहिनी दीपकचं चांगलं लक्ष ठेव का दीपक टेन्शन नको घेऊ मी बघून येते डॉक्टरांना चला आपण जाऊया
Today, she is a pillar of strength with an unflagging resolve to reach out to as many people as possible.
मैं उनको ये बोलती हूँ कि आपको कुछ भी नहीं हुआ है आप मेरे जैसी हो और आप मेरे जैसी रहोगी उनको खाना खिलाने का उनको नहलाने का उनका कुछ भी आता है तो वो मैं साफ करती हूँ उसकी केयर करती हूँ
What she can do for other HIV positive people as she escorts them from clinic to hospital, to their psychosocial service, it's just wonderful. She obviously has a very charismatic faith in the God of her understanding, and she is all fired up about carrying the message of self-respect and dignity to other HIV positive people. Kausar and thousands of married women like her wouldn't be HIV positive today if it weren't for the risk their husbands take in having unprotected sex outside the marriage. Now I'm headed to Kamatipura, Mumbai's bustling red light district, to meet a group of women who are forced to engage in survival sex and find themselves in the deadly heart of the HIV/AIDS battle.
Voltaremos a seguir com Ashley Judd e a praga secreta.
Mumbai is home to a thriving movie industry. Bollywood has stars with a global following of about 3.5 billion people, 1 billion more than Hollywood. They truly have the power to spread HIV/AIDS awareness messages to the widest possible audience. And I was so pleased that one actress in particular would be the perfect partner to rise to the challenge. Sushmita Sen is a former Miss Universe. She has a successful modeling career that runs parallel to her widely loved film work. An unconventional single mother with a growing involvement in social issues, she is a true inspiration to women across India. The recent death of a close member of her personal staff affected her deeply and has deepened her resolve to join my mission here and the war on HIV/AIDS.
There was a boy that worked with me as my man Friday for 7 years, and 3 months ago he passed away. He was afraid of the society, he was afraid of his family, he was afraid of everyone. So he never spoke about the condition and we couldn't save him. Save him to live long enough, as long as he could.
Away from the fascinating and bright lights of Bollywood is an altogether different kind of district, Kamatipura. Mumbai has the biggest brothel-based sex industry in Asia. Thousands upon thousands of men and women sell their bodies here to eke out a living. As in any other place in the world, most of them are in the trade for the most basic survival. People from different backgrounds come here or are brought against their will, and many of them do not use protection or are even aware of the risks related to unprotected sex. There are about 100,000 commercial sex workers in Mumbai. Although there are occasional condom demonstrations and information drives here, awareness about safe sex is still patchy. What many people do not know is that over half the sex workers in Mumbai are HIV positive. In some of the brothel buildings, sex is very inexpensive, 25 cents, 50 cents. And then in some of the adjacent brothel buildings, it's a little bit more. You know, it might be as much as $2 or $3. And so I was just prepared for that. I know that children live in the brothels with their mothers. If they're not at school or they're not up on the roof playing, they'll be in the room while their mother is having sex with the client. They might be under the bed itself. Geeta grew up poor in Nepal, the beautiful Himalayan kingdom that borders India. In 2001, she was tricked and trafficked into the brothels of India, worlds away from the family life she once knew. After being so moved by Kausar's story about how her husband contracted HIV from a commercial sex worker, my next move was to hear the other side of the story. A few phone calls later, I was most pleased when Sushmita agreed to join me on a trip to one of Kamatipura's many and notorious brothels.
Namaste. This is Geeta.
Hi, Geeta.
आप इनको पहचानते हो? नहीं. नहीं. ये है सुष्मिता से और इनका नाम है एशली जड.
Hi.
तो हम बोल रहे थे कि
सुनी पिक्चर देखा कोई भी मेरा? देखा? कौन सा वाला?
बहुत पिक्चर देखा आपका.
हाँ. और ये एशली जी जो है ना, ये हॉलीवुड में ना, जैसे हमारी फिल्में बनती हैं, वहाँ की फिल्म की बहुत बड़ी एक्ट्रेस है.
आप आपके बारे में उनको थोड़ा बताना चाहेंगे?
Yes. And how did you come here?
मैंने दूसरा आदमी लेके आया औरत. मैंने कहीं से कुछ बताया नहीं, खाली ऐसा खाने का चीज में जादू करके लेके आया.
So when you woke up, where were you?
इधर ही बम्बई में.
हाँ, लेकिन किधर जहाँ धंधा होता है वहाँ ही तुम जाग उठी?
हाँ.
या ब्रॉथल.
बाद में पता चला मेरे को. मेरे पता चला ऐसे लाइन पे आया, तो अभी क्या करेगा? भाग नहीं सकता है, कुछ नहीं कर सकता है. अभी आप लोग ही करो कुछ भी.
Shockingly, girls and women are often sold into sexual slavery by someone they know, perhaps even a family member. Then they have to keep working to pay off the money that the brothel owners paid for them. Even after they have paid off this debt, they are ostracized, and they feel they have fallen morally, and they have nowhere to go outside of sex work. They often have to give in to the demands by their clients to have sex without condoms. For these people, safe sex is often not an option. How many clients do you normally have a day?
कभी-कभी तो 3-4 भी होता है, कभी-कभी 2 होता है.
और ये कस्टमर से कितना पैसा लेते हैं?
After the counseling Geeta received, she felt empowered enough to begin insisting on safe sex practices. When a client approaches you for sex, how do you introduce the topic with that client of a condom?
उसको पूछेगा आप निरत लगाते हैं कि नहीं लगाते? तो वो बोलेगा लगाते हैं, तो फिर पैसा लेके बैठ. अगर नहीं बोलेगा ना, सीधा बाहर कर देते.
Nice, शाबाश, very good.
And are the men that respectful? You can just say no and they go away? Or do they become argumentative?
हम लोग सीधा बोलता है, अगर वो कंडोम लगा के बैठेंगे तो आपके लिए अच्छा है, हम लोग के लिए भी अच्छा है. अगर तुमने कंडोम नहीं लगाएगा, बाद में तुम्हारा जान रहेगा तो तुम बहुत एंजॉय करेगा. तुम्हारा जान नहीं रहेगा तो कहाँ से तुम पैसा कमाएगा, कहाँ से एंजॉय करेगा. ऐसा बोलते हैं. नहीं समझने के बाद भी जाओ बोलते.
In the early days, Geeta had no knowledge of HIV, how it was transmitted, or how to protect herself. She had sex with clients without condoms. And it was only after being diagnosed with tuberculosis that she was tested for HIV.
खून का रिपोर्ट लेके गया, तभी डॉक्टर ने बताया कि ऐसा ऐसा है। तो मैंने डॉक्टर को पूछा इसका दवा क्या मिलता है, तो बोलते इसका ये दवा तो कुछ भी नहीं मिलता है, ऐसा बोला मेरे को।
ऐसा बोला?
हाँ, मैं बोला नहीं मिलता है। फिर वो सोच के तो मैं और कितना दुबला हो गया। पहले थोड़ा अच्छा था, मैं सोचता है क्या अभी मैं मरने वाला ही बम्बई में।
किसने बोला तेरे को?
हिम्मत नहीं हारेगा, फिर भी मैं दवा खाते रहेगा।
ये प्रॉमिस।
Access to antiretroviral treatment for those living with HIV, especially from the poorer sections, is a huge problem. Families with HIV-positive members on average pay 4 times more for health care, a burden that is often too much for them to bear. In Kamatipura, a group of sex workers have created a community-based organization called Sangumitra, where they can address issues like protection, reproductive rights and health, and education for themselves and their children. And sometimes they can even enjoy a little therapy that is absolutely free. In South Asia, up to 150,000 women a year are trafficked into the sex trade, a majority of them bound for Indian cities. Those who are trafficked into Mumbai are at a particular risk of becoming infected with HIV. And when they do go back to their countries, if they ever do, they will take HIV across international borders. The colorful cotton green is a truck where truckers from all over India spend a few days waiting for their next assignment. These men can spend months and months on the road away from their homes. Many of them visit sex workers, often taking an absolutely deadly risk in the process. Other traveling groups like businessmen and migrant workers spread HIV from high-risk groups to the general population. But truckers are a prime target for popular outreach programs ranging from street theater and condom demonstrations to information about the necessity of testing and knowing one's status.
रिपोर्ट स्वीकारने के लिए मानसिक तौर पे तैयार करें। धन्यवाद भाई साहब। थैंक यू, आपने बहुत ही अच्छी जानकारी दी है।
करोगे?
Someone tell me what safe sex is.
सुरक्षित संबंध मतलब क्या? कौन बताएगा?
कंडोम पहनना चाहिए। जितनी बार सारे संबंध रखना चाहते हो, उतनी बार कंडोम पहनना जरूरी है।
Good answer. Good answer. Cotton green is yet another microcosm of India, where people from all over the country come together. It may be a hub of HIV transmission, but it is also a place where truckers can be encouraged to spread awareness about HIV and AIDS along India's 34,000-kilometer national highway network. One friendly trucker at Cotton Green is named Yasin Khan. He was willing to give me a strikingly candid glimpse into his personal life on the road.
Ashley?
So nice to meet you.
आप कब आए हैं यहाँ पे?
यहाँ हमारे बाहर थी।
Hanging out 8 days. What you doing?
क्या करेंगे? टाइम पास के लिए पिक्चर चले जाते हैं, घूमने चले जाते हैं। वो मूड बन जाता है तो उधर भी चले जाते हैं।
तो कहाँ जाते हैं भैया?
बम्बई में है, पारस रोड है, कमाटीपुरा है।
Are you married?
आप शादीशुदा हैं?
एक बच्चा है।
आप उससे बहुत प्यार करते हैं? तो वो क्या सोचती हैं इसके बारे में जब ये उनको पता चला?
पहले तो शुरू में झगड़े करते थे, नहीं जाना चाहिए ये। अब जब हमारी लाइफ ही रोड की है तो
You know, what I learned from him is that migrant laborers have sex outside of marriage. They just do. They think they can, they think they should, they think biologically it's necessary. They in an abstract way, believe in monogamy, but think it's wholly impractical.
How risky do you perceive sex with a commercial sex worker to be?
खतरा तो है पर आदमी शौक के लिए चला जाता है.
I know that sometimes truckers met with men as an alternative to having sex with women. Do you see a lot of that?
जाते हैं सही लोग, जैसे छक्के लोग होते हैं, कई लोग इसके आदत से मजबूर होते हैं. ड्राइवर एक ऐसी कौम है, वो कहीं भी चली जाती है.
What about condoms? Do you take a condom with you? Do you buy a condom there? Do you prefer if the sex worker provides the condom for you?
नहीं, वही लोग रखते हैं.
So that's a convenience for you. How many times would you estimate you've had unprotected sex, and how many times have you had protected sex?
जब पहले HIV के बारे में जानकारी नहीं थी, तब तो बिना कॉन्डम ही आदमी आते थे.
और अभी हर संबंध में?
अभी तो घर में भी निरोध वापरते हैं.
घर में भी वापरते हैं?
जब से मालूम पड़ा इस बीमारी के बारे में, HIV के बारे में.
Are you trying to impress me?
आप क्या खुश करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं?
नहीं, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. घर पे पूछ सकते हैं आप. हम नहीं चाहते ना कि तो हमारे साथ दूसरों की जिंदगी खराब.
Truckers are obviously aware of the risk of paid commercial sex and multiple partners. Additionally, research also shows that truckers in India have a high level of awareness about sexual contact with other men. But homosexual activity only makes up a small part of the HIV transmission problem. A huge challenge in disseminating medically accurate sex education is that even talking about sex in families is strictly taboo in India. What surprised me so much was Yasin's invitation to meet his family in Rajasthan to see for myself how far that door had opened. I was already planning to head north to his home state's capital, Jaipur, where I was to meet up with one of Bollywood's most popular leading men and to perform a demonstration for a rally for Indian truckers that I was certain they would never forget.
Quantas vezes o estômago humano pode aumentar seu tamanho? 3 vezes.
Akshay Kumar is easily one of Bollywood's top actors. His movies are blockbusters by any measure, and his image as a tough action star makes him a perfect person to drive the HIV/AIDS awareness message home to India's men. We were here together as part of a community outreach and education campaign aimed specifically at truckers in Rajasthan.
Place the condom on the tip of the penis.
ऊपर इसको डालते हैं condom को और उसे दोनों उंगलियों से नीचे या you can go ahead
and roll
और इसको नीचे लेते हुए नीचे जाते हैं
with one hand all the way to the base of the penis.
बिल्कुल नीचे तक.
अब आप देखिए condom का demonstration.
During my time here, it had become very obvious that sex is still a taboo subject in most parts of Indian society. Empowering interventions like these go a long way toward breaking down the secrecy and making sure that safe sexual behavior becomes the norm. But the key to stopping the devastation is also helping people to realize that this virus has many paths into the general population, and in no way is it limited to the so-called high-risk groups. Back in Mumbai, I was introduced to a group many consider to be on the fringe of the HIV/AIDS emergency, injecting drug users, who, because of their addictions, put their lives on the line by sharing needles and then potentially spread the virus to new segments of Indian society. I met some recovering injecting drug users at the PSI office in Mumbai to hear about their part in the spread of HIV.
के लिए जेल में गया पुलिस प्रॉब्लम जैसे सुंदरवान चेन खींच लेना फिर ये देखा कि फिक्सिंग करते करते हालत ज़्यादा डाउन होते गए और मेरे काफ़ी फ्रेंड्स जो फिक्सिंग करते थे काफ़ी मर गए एक्सपायर हो गए बहुत ट्राई किया बंद करने का हॉस्टल में वगैरह कहीं भी जाओ तो 1000 रुपया 2000 रुपया तो खर्चा है ही उसमें.
One big problem over here is this: there are no hospitals here available for them for treatment.
There aren't treatment centers for drug users?
It's available, it's expensive for them because of people who are on the street. They cannot afford to spend even 100 rupees.
In terms of percentages, infections that occur through needle sharing aren't close to the rates associated with unprotected sex. Even so, there is a grave lack of resources available to help injecting drug users. Spending time with drug users who share needles made me realize that they could be from any part of society. Addiction does not discriminate. They are not just from the poor sections or a taboo group. While it is true that poor people are more vulnerable to HIV, the virus is moving into high society, and my next meeting would make that starkly clear. Not all of the prostituted sex workers in Mumbai are poor like Geeta and Kamatipura. There are some who get paid a lot by wealthy clients who then still continue to have sex with their own wives or regular partners. I spent some time in Mumbai with someone who is considered a high-class call girl. She is trapped in a situation in which she is forced to cater to men of means and influence. She only agreed to meet me on the condition that we would not reveal her identity.
Thank you so much for agreeing to visit with me.
Because it's for a good cause, that's why.
So tell me, what's the least you've been paid and what's the most?
Least, sometimes 15, sometimes 16. It's according to the client.
It's according to how much the client wants. When you say 15 or 16, you mean 100 rupees?
It's 1,000, it's never 100.
Okay. Are you afraid of HIV?
Yeah, very much. I want to live a life.
Have you been tested?
Yeah, every alternate month.
Good for you.
We go for blood tests and all, but nobody knows that exactly you are safe or not. About HIV, we can say, okay, we did the test, but how safe we are, we don't know.
Do you know other women in your category of sex worker who've become HIV positive?
Yeah, many of them.
And what do? They stay in the profession and just use condoms?
No. Once the owner or the high organizer, they come to know that she is HIV, she is not given any work.
Is your worst fear that you'd end up in a proper brothel down on Falkland Road?
You cannot say anything about that.
Why? Is it because you can't predict the future? Or someone's got a muzzle on you and you're not allowed to talk about it?
But it's better we don't go into that.
Why? Is it too scary?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I understand that. I really appreciate your honesty. Thank you so much for being willing to share your story with me. Even though the woman with whom I met, in Indian terms, makes a decent living, she has even less control over her own life than her poor counterparts in Kamatipura. She knows many women in this higher strata of commercial sex workers who, when they have tested positive, have disappeared, but not before they have passed HIV on to their more affluent clients. She is not allowed to speak openly to me about her life, and she is totally without hope for her own future. Yet another indication of how the HIV crisis stays hidden in the shadows, and all of this was deeply upsetting. So suddenly, I had all this, I came out with so much anger and so much to say and so much will, and now all of a sudden I've gone completely limp. Can you imagine how lonely? I mean, how do you not just die of loneliness, just die of a broken heart? I had spent time with girls and women forced to sell their bodies as commercial sex workers, putting themselves, their clients, and their families at risk. I spent time with truckers who take the virus on the road all over the country. I had met others who were infected because their partners had unprotected sex outside their relationships. It was overwhelming. But the impact this virus has on children is perhaps the single most heartbreaking aspect of India's hidden plague. HIV/AIDS has orphaned no fewer
than 15 million children worldwide. And I was about to meet two beautiful young sisters who would show me vividly what that really means. Neelam and her younger sister Komal, like any children, are full of hopes and dreams for their future. Neelam goes to school and wants to be a flight attendant when she grows up. Komal would like to be a lawyer. These two young girls lost both their parents abruptly to HIV/AIDS. Presently, they live with a brother, an aunt, and a grandmother in a small home. Luckily, the children are not infected with HIV, but even so, life for Neelam and Komal is far from easy.
Oh my goodness, beautiful girls. Where do you want me? Right here? Hi. So you're 14?
Yes.
And you're 12?
And one brother is 6-year-old.
Who is 6 years old? So a little brother.
Brother.
Okay, where's he?
He is school.
He's at school. Good. Why aren't you at school?
Night school.
You go to night school. And why do you go to night school?
मॉम डैड ऑफ हो गए ना मम्मी पापा तो घर में कमाने वाला कोई नहीं रहता ना फिर मैं काम पे जाती हूँ और शाम को स्कूल जाती हूँ.
You work. Yeah. You're 14 years old and you work. And you support your brother and your sisters. Yes. My goodness. That's a lot for a little girl. It must be really hard, but I'm glad you go. How much do you earn?
1,200.
1,200 rupees a week? A month?
No, a month.
Holy Mary, Mother of God. And is that enough for you to feed yourself and your siblings?
नहीं होता.
No.
लेकिन क्या ज़्यादा तो दिन मिलता नहीं ना थोड़ा एडजस्ट कर लेते हैं.
Neelam is very vulnerable. That's actually, here I go again. That's the most hysterical I got on this trip, just thinking about how vulnerable she is. Ripe for the picking. She is exactly the child who gets sold. She lives in a poor neighborhood with men who are poor who would sell her in a heartbeat. She is so vulnerable. May I look at the picture of your daddy?
Yeah.
Very handsome. That your mom can see where you both get your beauty. Look at that. Do you think you look like your mother or your dad?
Daddy.
You think you look like your daddy? How about you? You look like your mommy? They're beautiful. Would you be open to telling me a little bit about what it was like for you when you found out they were sick?
हम लोग को तो ऐसा विश्वास नहीं हुआ कि मम्मी पापा को ऐसा हो सकता है करके.
What about you, honey?
मुझे मेरी मम्मी की वजह करती है.
I bet you do. How have you coped with that? Has there been... I don't even know what to say. I really don't. It's just, you know, kids, what happens exceeds their vocabulary to express it. I can promise you that I will never forget you, and I will always pray for you, and I will do my part to make sure that girls like you can be educated and can be empowered and can realize your dreams and live to your fulfillment. That's my part.
Even if children like Neelam and Komal are not HIV positive, the virus has a profound way of traumatizing their young lives. When a parented, an already poor family takes a financial hit they can barely stand, as the medicines must be paid for. Children at young ages work to supplement the meager income. Then they have to come to terms with their own grief as one or both of the parents die. Eventually, they are required to fend for themselves at an age when they should not have such concerns. It is my most earnest wish that I could do something to help everyone like Neelam and Komal something that could make a positive change in their lives now rather than later.
What I think I saw is that kids are like impossibly resilient, and she has adapted. And that is so much of what I have seen, for which I was not prepared, how conditioned people are in India to accept their circumstances.
Meeting these girls mightily strengthened my resolve to raise more funds for PSI programs here in India. After about a week in Mumbai, I was so eager to tell the stories of those beautiful people I had met to others who were in a position to do something to make an impact on this situation in India. The U.S. Consul General was kind enough to hold a reception for me, inviting top Bollywood actors, the commissioner of the Mumbai Municipal Corporation, leading industrialists, and influential senior bankers. This was my best shot at reaching them.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Namaste. Thank you to my hosts, as well as thank all of our distinguished guests for making space for us tonight to talk about the possibility of changing the world, which is my favorite subject. Today I was with a beautiful girl. She's 14 years old, and she and her younger sister and her brother are HIV/AIDS orphans. The older girl, the 14-year-old, she works from 8:30 in the morning until 5 o'clock at night embroidering. Her fellow co-workers are also adolescent, and she attends school in the evening. She has a 30-minute break between when her workday ends and when she pursues her studies. And she does this 6 days a week. She lives in a slum area with her auntie, who is also HIV positive. Her parents died of AIDS complications. And her auntie also has TB, and she also lives with her granny. And spending time with her is just, it's what I really love to do most. And as Global Ambassador for Youth AIDS and a PSI board member, I've had the wonderful opportunity to travel to 10 developing countries at this point and visit our programs in action and be in the slums and in the brothels and in the hospices and in the drop-in centers. That's what I love to do. I'll go to the slums and feel my feelings and come to an event and cry and tell you about it. You write the check.
I had spoken from my heart, but nothing concrete happened. I was so worried that the words would not be turned into action.
I'd like Mr. Índia to present flowers and Mr. Natgeo to present a memento to Ashley Judd.
The next day we were scheduled to tour Film City in Mumbai. Kate Roberts, my dear colleague, and the founder and director of Youth AIDS set up a meeting with a Bollywood superstar who was our last and perhaps our best chance at giving this fundraising effort a major push. Shah Rukh Khan. He has literally hundreds of millions of devoted fans in India alone, and he may well be the biggest movie star in the world. And if he would agree to join the campaign against HIV/AIDS, there is really no way of overestimating how big an impact it could have on PSI programs and the hope that it could bring to those in need.
He is the Brad Pitt. He's Brad and George and Julia combined. And he's like the biggest A-list movie star in the constellation of stuff.
You have no idea what I have gone through these last 24 hours to get down to see him.
Shah Rukh got to the point immediately. He offered to help raise funds and to arrange for free airtime on a very popular TV network in India. And the best part was that he agreed to shoot with us for a public service advertisement which would be telecast on TV.
Thank you so much for your time. Absolute pleasure.
Come on, I love you.
Thank you so much. Rest of the day and enjoy your time with your family tonight. Thank you again. Thank you. Thank you, really. You're making such a
He got to the point immediately on that nobody else has ever done. Is he wanted to know how he could fundraise. And nobody's ever really done that before, because I think that automatically public figures think it's all about awareness. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We just got the biggest movie star in India to endorse our programs and to help us raise money. And It's going to change millions of lives and touch millions of lives.
My 3 weeks in India were coming to a close, and I had one very important bit of unfinished business with a child I was unwilling to leave and the desperate circumstances in which I had met her.
Voltaremos a seguir com Ashley Judd e a praga secreta da Índia no Natgeo.
I had experienced the full range of HIV/AIDS in India, and without question, the publicity, awareness, and fundraising potential generated during the trip had been a huge success, thanks to Bollywood's brightest stars lining up behind PSI's excellent mission. It was now time to reminisce about the wonderful people I had met along the way. Today, Kausar continues to help those who have discovered they are HIV positive and to guide them through the care and treatment they desperately need. Kausar is a shining example of someone who, through service work, has transcended her own desperate circumstances. But not everyone is as strong as she is. Geeta continued to work in the sex trade as she battled her own illness and hopelessness. Like Geeta, there is a huge number of commercial sex workers in Mumbai and elsewhere who still will have sex with their clients without condoms, often for just a little more money, money that they urgently need. Yasin carries on, spending months away from his home and family as he travels this vast country transporting goods. He says that he does visit sex workers often, and he uses condoms with everyone, including his wife back in Rajasthan. But when I finally met her, I was disappointed and shocked to learn that she actually had no clear idea of whether or not her husband had sex outside their marriage. Even more disturbing was the fact that she had no idea what a condom was. The taboo and stigma associated with medically accurate sex education is so severe, and is one of the reasons HIV remains hidden.
The supreme sweetness in the supreme sweetness and
As my journey in India came to an end, my chance to do something truly personal with long-term impact for Neelam and her family was slipping away. I flew to New Delhi to attend an event hosted by Vinay Rai, who happens to run a series of colleges for higher education. The Rai Foundation has several philanthropic initiatives which support learning, especially for girls and orphans. As I had been speaking to others, I spoke to him and his guests about dear Neelam. Later, Shahrukh recorded public service announcements with us.
HIV and AIDS know no boundaries.
Neelam was invited to watch the shooting and to be on hand for a very special surprise.
Okay, take Shahrukh. That's good?
Yeah.
All right, 1 second. Hi, Neelam. Come here. And what do you do, Neelam?
I'm 10th standard.
Okay, we have something for you from the Rai Foundation and Ashley Judd, which is the annual scholarship. And I would like to present this to you. It's my honor. And I'm really thrilled and happy that I'm the one chosen to give this to you. So what this will do is it will take care of your education while you're in school. It will take care of your education during graduation. And it will even take care of your education when you do your master's. So you promise me one thing, that you will study till master's.
Yes.
It's all the best in life.
Thank you.
And you'll always be happy. God bless you. Do well.
There will always be the need to expand the kind of education and prevention programs put forward by PSI and other non-governmental organizations in the field to help address the kind of inequities and cultural conditions that marginalize young women and put entire societies at risk. But with that one scholarship, Neelam does have a chance to break out of the poverty cycle to receive an all-important education and to prevent herself from becoming further victimized by HIV. She is but one small child, but the community that came in behind her was truly awe-inspiring and represents the kind of individual action needed around the world to slow this virus down and drag it out of the shadows.
What happened with Neelam reminds me of what Gandhi said almost 70 years ago. A small body of determined spirits, fired by an unquenchable faith in their mission, can alter the course of history.
Namaste.
I am taking that powerful message and the intimate stories of those I've met here in India home with me deep in my heart, with the belief that by sharing their experiences, we will all come together, make a real difference, and yes, create a world that is free of HIV/AIDS.